This is chapter 13 analysis of William Bell's Crabbe. We are on chapter 13. So we are coming back to the fact that Crabbe is an alcoholic who is in withdrawal, and we've mentioned this multiple times. He refers to it as talking to Silent Sam, which is a type of vodka. And so it's been a month already. He's been in the woods at least. And he's saying that the first month was the hardest. So I'm assuming that there's more months that he's in the forest and also that they continue to be hard, but less hard. We know he has withdrawal symptoms and he talks about these cravings that are coming up. He's clearly gotten past the shivering and the fever. I don't know if there was a fever, but there was shivering for sure. Of withdrawal. So now he's just dealing more with cravings and mood swings. I just want to stop and say that like substance abuse has consequences, right? It doesn't feel like that when you're doing it. No one tells you that when you start. I mean, they do, but you don't understand it until you go through the experience, I suppose, which is another message of this book. And so Crabbe is now dealing with the consequences. He even says, I don't know how I didn't think that I wouldn't need this, right? How did I think that I wouldn't need alcohol when I left? Like, what was I thinking? Right. And the point is that you just don't know. And he wasn't thinking. So he admits that he's been pretty testy with her. We're getting some evidence here that he's continuing to, be of use. Um, he says it here too, right? He's very self-depreciating. So he feels like he's a piece of trash. He's a baby, unworthy, right? A notch above useless on the evolutionary scale, where Mary is much more obviously capable. He mentions the fact that there's nothing romantic between them, despite the fact that he calls her beautiful. I don't think that there's even evidence that Crabbe is sexually attracted to Mary. Um, he describes her in like very respectful ways. Like he does say that she's beautiful, but he never is inappropriate about it. Like I don't think that you would have a case if you wanted to talk about like maybe he's in love with her, but I would say that Crabbe is never trying to like be sexual with Mary, um, like that we've seen so far in the novel. Just a side note there because I know students like anyways, when you're writing an essay, I would just say that there's not a lot of evidence for that. And so he does also mention these kind of roles that women play in movies. So you could talk about that is an interesting kind of commentary. So he says that Mary, I would say, again, in contrast to the city life that Crabbe is used to, he's mentioned watching TV in the last chapter. In contrast to the way that women are represented in, let's say, the city or the media or the real world or on TV, he says, like, Mary is not like that. So I think, again, this is another example that you could use of, appearance versus reality or, nature versus technology or the city. So he's finding that, like, the representation of women is not necessarily accurate, at least of Mary. And specifically, like, women are either represented as being like flirty with big eyes and helpless, or the exact opposite to prove that she's liberated, where they act really manly. And he says, no, she's just Mary, right? Remember how it was just nature? Nature is just there. It's not evil or good. She's just Mary. And so, but that Crabbe is more helpless than her. So he's kind of questioning these gender assumptions. But I think it's not about gender here. I think, again, it's about the larger picture of the way that he's interpreted the world for a long time. The things that he's assumed to be true are not necessarily true. And that through these experiences, he's gaining a lot of insight into those things. So we have the difficulty. Mary tries everything she can. Now, I will say, just from my own personal reading, that I do know that one easy way to, like, you can replace one addiction with another, which seems to be the idea here. And she's saying, at least if you don't inhale, then when you try to quit smoking after this, it shouldn't be as bad. Like maybe it's a transition habit for you to get away from the drinking withdrawal, which, to be fair, like, or he could just suffer through it. I don't know why they need to do the smoking in this novel because it's not like you can go to the store and just buy alcohol either. But that is neither here nor there. We find out about this pipe. So remember, this pipe has been mentioned at the very start of the text with Dr. Brown because Crabbe is incessantly smoking at that time. And they want him to stop smoking. So, I guess we have our answer about, does he get addicted? Or is he just missing Mary, right? We now know that Mary is here. And obviously that she's not there when he gets to the hospital. So it has a yin and yang symbol on it, and it has a lot of history. There's a lot of information that comes out about Mary here. So she's starting to share her past, like in a very literal sense. She's opened up the mystery bag and she's now giving parts of that to Crabbe, right? We have like some symbolism there. Like the literal backpack has been opened and she's literally taking things out of it, her backpack of mystery. So we're also getting information. Some information that we get about Mary is that, well, there's so many things, but she obviously knows about this pipe. This pipe is important to her, right? This pipe has history, but if we pay attention, it's kind of at the end. I should have waited, but the way that she talks about the pipe, he assumes that she is university educated. So he's feeling like this is a well-organized lecture. He's feeling like she knows research on this, that she obviously, has talked about this before. She has a particular way of talking. It seems like she loved this. He makes it about himself at the end, but I'm just focusing on the Mary stuff right now. So we are finding out that Mary has this past, and it's definitely tied to something that she loves, but also she seems to have like an academic passion around it. So let's go back to the pipe. The pipe, interestingly, it turns out Crabbe's dad is a huge pipe smoker, which is another comparison for us, right? So we have this pipe is so great and comforting for him, and yet his own father has all these pipes, and Crabbe has been around lots of pipes, and those pipes, you know, even a red one for God's sake, our house is littered with it, right? He criticizes how his dad is smoking it. He says it's probably just for his image. We have 8,000 of those damn things. I'm giving you lots of examples here of negative connotations about pipe smoking associated with Crabbe's father. And then he goes, but this pipe was different. Okay, so again, we do have like this comparison between, well, my dad is smoking in this way and I'm smoking in this way. My dad's pipes are like this. I'm smoking like this. I would say it correlates to the at home and like blaming others kind of idea, and then like, being in the woods and feeling sorry for ourselves a little bit. Not that he feels sorry for himself with the pipe, but I'm just saying that like that distinction seems a little bit suspicious to me, like of Crabbe still being defensive, for example. Because I think you could also say that the pipe smoking now makes Crabbe a lot like his dad. And we know that he rails against his dad. You know that he has a huge problem with his dad. We know he has a problem with authority. We know his dad specifically is an issue for him. And so now we're seeing like, what is Crabbe doing? Oh, Crabbe's an alcoholic, just like his dad. Oh, Crabbe's gonna smoke pipe, just like his dad. Well, he also hates him and blames him. Oh, but we're seeing Crabbe start to blame himself. So we maybe are gonna realize that Crabbe shouldn't be blaming his dad. His dad probably has the exact same problem that Crabbe has, and maybe they could relate on that. Maybe this could solve their problem. I am very much extrapolating because that doesn't even happen in this text, I don't think. Pretty sure we don't really get that information, but I think that's an interesting correlation, let's say. So Crabbe finds the pipe comforting. I would say, I'm not on board with this. I think it's a bit concerning. It's like just substituting in one for another, but it is the easiest way to get someone to change their behavior. So if you wanted someone to, like, let's say, I think the example I read in the book was a different book, was like brushing your teeth. So it was like a big battle to get people to believe that they should brush their teeth, but like once they brush their teeth, then you can like add on and you can substitute in different habits. I'm paraphrasing, but it is a method that works. So that is that. So but Crabbe realizes that he needs to, like, she doesn't want to answer any more questions, but he is getting some information. It's working pretty well, and that's great. So, oh, I wanted the part at the end. Yeah. So Crabbe is still doing this self-pity thing where he goes, this is something from someone that Mary loved and she gave it to me and I'm worthless. But if she thinks that I can use it, then I guess I better give it a try because I'm just a worthless poor Crabbe and I'm low on the evolutionary scale. And, so I would say that Crabbe is doing this thing where he's like very much holding Mary up on a pedestal, which is probably not a great thing to do. But I mean, I guess he's looking at her in a mentor role, which, as I mentioned before, he seems to respect her authority. When she says, come sit, he goes, okay. She says, tell me. And I told her, so he is starting to respect authority. And I would say that Mary is good at what she does. She's educated. She knows about this. She's very good at survival. So there is a lesson here too, I think, about doing the hard work, and then also maybe respecting people who also are respectable. Because when we have a problem with authority, when we have this beginning part where Crabbe is fighting against, everything, all the institutions, right, of school and teachers and parents and principals and hospitals and doctors, like all of these hierarchies that he seems to dislike. I think that there's maybe something about respecting authority, like when authority is respectable, maybe. Right? Like maybe we're finding a nuanced way to understand. It's not that you should just blindly, like you shouldn't blindly listen to everyone that tells you what to do. I think that's clear. And Crabbe obviously is very ready to use his critical thinking skills to determine if he should listen to someone or not, right? Like we see him judging Dr. Brown and the principal, all these things. But I think we also see that all of those judgments came from a place of real bitterness. And so hopefully this type of narrative is leading me to see that Crabbe maybe is growing to respect authority, open his mind a little bit, be a bit more of a lifelong learner and willing to take direction because it's been slapped in his face a bunch of times that he doesn't know what he's talking about. He thinks he's very smart. It's a teenager thing to do. It's part of growing up. But he's thought he knows what he's doing and he keeps learning that he doesn't. He doesn't, he doesn't, he doesn't. And he's a little bit depressed about that. But he's also been given the tools now from a mentor that he trusts because he respects her to start to build up his confidence in those areas. And if you're not feeling it yet, maybe you're not familiar with narratives, but this is building to something, right? So it's like Crabbe thought he knew what he's doing, but he didn't. And now he's been learning and learning, right? We feel him preparing for a journey, right? You see Mary giving him the tools, right? You see him gearing up for battle. So what is the battle going to be, right? In this type of text, it could be like just self-discovery, right? Man versus self, but we also have had many clues that the wilderness is so dangerous, the bear attack, the canoes. Crabbe just comments on it continually throughout the novel. So what's going to happen? I guess we'll find out.